what we have is a novel technology that allows for our drug to disperse through a tumor and be absorbed. So we actually inject the drug into the visible tumors. The drug now, instead of being excreted, because tumors are fat, high density, and under pressure, and our drugs have to be in the biological fluid of water because the body is not made of solvents, right, or like alcohols. So water and fat don't mix, but we have found a way to make it mix.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Lew Bender. He is the CEO of Intensity Therapeutics. And Lew, it's good to see you. How are you?
Great, Stephen. Thank you for the opportunity to explain Intensity's Therapeutics story.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I know it's a really unique one and an interesting one. We're glad you're with us. And let's start there. Tell me a bit about the story. You're sort of attacking cancer from a bit of a different way.
Yeah, look, so my background is I'm a chemical engineer, and I thought about cancer in a physical way as opposed to the biology, which is typically what's used in the treatment of cancer. And what we have is a novel technology that allows for our drug to disperse through a tumor and be absorbed. So we actually inject the drug into the visible tumors. The drug now, instead of being excreted, because tumors are fat, high density, and under pressure, and our drugs have to be in the biological fluid of water because the body is not made of solvents, right, or like alcohols. So water and fat don't mix, but we have found a way to make it mix. And so we take our product, which contains two very potent killing agents, commercial potent killing agents, normally given intravenously. And now, by injecting them directly into the tumor, we kill the tumor and we spare the patient the global toxicity that these drugs can have. But not just kill the tumor, we kill the tumor in a new way, an immunological way. And so, what it does is that as the tumor is dying, the immune system can start to recognize the cancer as not self. And so, as the tumor dies, the immune system gets engaged to attack not only the tumors that we injected, but the tumors that we didn't inject. And so it now has a act locally, but behave globally type of effect in the body. We kill the tumors that you can see, and we attack the tumors you can't inject or can't see. And this has
What
had a very good benefit for patients.
Yeah, what cancers does it work best on? Is there something that you're specifically targeting?
So yes, so where we've seen it, it does work in many, many cancers.
Yeah.
But what we have seen it work in better than current therapies by far are the more challenging ones. So our first phase 3 study program is going to be in sarcoma, a very deadly cancer. But we also have a study in breast cancer, dense tumors in both sarcoma and breast cancer. Sarcoma is a tumor out of your muscles and your fat and your nerves. It's an ugly tumor. It's mostly in your body, in the legs and the arms, and in the body bowel. Breast cancer, obviously, one of the most challenging tumor types, especially when when it has what's called a version called triple negative. And so we're in a phase 2 study in pre-surgical women with triple negative breast cancer to knock the tumor out before they go into chemo. Because if the tumor is dead at the time of the surgery, the women have a much lower chance of getting that disease back again. Unfortunately, for the majority of women, especially with large tumors to be cut out, they don't often get a complete response of the dead tumor at the time of surgery. And some women can die from the chemo. So by
Yeah.
using our drug to kill the tumor up front, we hope the better outcomes for these women will be to have a completely dead tumor at the time of surgery. In sarcoma, it's a straight line down to death at about 30 months once you're on your second or third line. So you start out 100% of people alive. By 30, 35 months, almost 95, 99% of the people are dead. With what we've seen in phase 2, where we had 30 patients who got our drug, at about 21 months, we still saw half the people alive. So instead of being deceased at 13 months for half the people, we saw 21. But we learned from our 2 studies that we were underloading into the tumor and we were not using the maximum amount we now know and are safely able to do. So we're expecting a very good outcome in the sarcoma where we will keep people alive longer. And while they're alive, because the drug stays in the tumor, they won't have the current standard of care toxicities, which can cause, an elongation of your heart rhythm and interact with all the other meds that you're on. So we find that in our phase two, what we did was we could keep people alive a lot longer, but feeling good while they're alive, keeping their
Yeah.
quality of life high. A lot of times in these metastatic diseases, you are poisoning the entire body and harming the patient almost as much as the cancer. In many cases, you actually kill the patient with the chemo because you're trying to kill as much as you can. This is a
Yeah.
new approach. It is a local delivery treatment that will act systemically to help patients.
Now, you mentioned a trial you just recently announced you dosed your first patient in your phase 3 trial. This is a pretty critical one. It's a larger trial as well.
That's correct. It is a large study in sarcoma, the deadly cancer that I just talked to you about. We have
Yep.
treated our first, actually now a number of patients, and we are very excited, and the doctors are excited because in sarcoma, there really is nothing good. It is as I mentioned before, a brutal, deadly disease with suffering from the chemotherapy that's currently used. And we've seen very good results in phase two in a number of patients with sarcoma, and we're anticipating that in this 333 patient study, we will see benefit. Now, it's a very interesting, it's a randomized controlled study, but the doctors will know that they're giving certain patients our drug. For every 3 patients enrolled, 2 will be randomized to our drug and 1 will be randomized to the standard of care. And I believe that we're going to have about 50 centers around the world. It'll be done in 8 countries, 333 patients, and we're hoping that this study will be the definitive. It is also kind of a historic study, not only definitive for sarcoma, but it is the
Yeah.
first time we believe that FDA has authorized a phase 3 study where we are treating only locally, meaning it is not a systemic treatment, it is a local treatment that acts globally by the immune response, but a local treatment to treat a systemic metastatic disease compared to the best systemic chemotherapy. That is the first time such a study has been authorized. Active control, best current care in a metastatic disease being treated also by a local therapy.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's going to be fascinating to see the results out of that as well. Look forward to following that story. Lew, thank you so much for updating us on what you're up to. It's a very busy time for you and the team, I know, and we look forward to our next conversation. Okay.
Well, Steve, I appreciate the time and the ability to explain what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Lew Bender, the CEO of Intensity Therapeutics.